Hi, welcome to The Big Twist, where we talk to other creatives about the big plot twists that have defined their lives. I'm Angela Trevino.
And I'm Anna Carini. And we are here today with our guest, Melisa D. Monts. We are very excited to have Melisa with us. Melisa is a writer, director, producer of podcasts, audiobooks, screenplays, and we can't wait to hear about it all.
Let's take the audience back a little bit to how you got started in this industry.
Okay.
What brought you to LA? If you're not from LA, tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm originally from Arkansas, but I moved all around the U.S. So I've lived in Texas, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Kansas, Mississippi. Probably missing somewhere, but I moved around a lot as a kid. But we ended up back in Arkansas when I was in high school. And my plans were to go to dental school. And I have my undergrad degree is in biology. But I took a couple dental classes and I did not like them.
That's amazing. Wait, why? Can you tell us why?
Okay, so I have always been a creative person, but I never really thought of it as professionally. But I did take writing and acting classes in college. Like they were just kind of things I did for fun. And then I kind of had like a little crisis where I was like, I don't want to go. This is what I've been planning for these 4 years. I don't want to go to dental school. And I was talking to my advisor and she goes, well, you've been taking these other classes and you enjoy them and you do well in them. Why don't you look into it and maybe that could be a career? And I was in Arkansas. Like there is a film industry now, but then at that time it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, whatever. So I did look into student films here in LA. And so I contacted contacted UCLA and USC and AFI. And AFI, they told me, they were like, yeah, we'll just put you in touch with some of the students and you can work on some student films if you want. And so after I graduated, I came out to LA a few times and worked on student films just to see if I actually enjoyed the industry. And
this was volunteer work?
Yeah, volunteer work.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I worked at this vitamin company while I was saving up money and then eventually saved up money and I came here and I did classes at UCLA in film. And so I did that. And while I was doing that, I was steadily working on films and doing internships. And the internships were with some pretty big producers and they put me in contact with some people. My first job, official job that I was getting paid, because this was before they forced you to get paid for internships. So I was doing a lot of
those days.
Yeah, doing a lot of free internships. And then my first job was working at a company that does reality shows. So I did office work there, and then I started working for a producer director as his assistant. And then from there, I moved up to producer pretty quickly.
Nice. So that's when I met you. Around that time is when you moved up to producer that I met you. So Melisa and I worked together on this digital series for Go 90, RIP.
Yeah.
Called Mr. Student Body President. So we both freelanced on that. And then I went to work at the company that produced that series. Mm-hmm. And then you went on after that to produce, I guess, what was your next step?
And so I don't know if I was technically freelancing because I worked specifically on the show. So I was attached to the show. Mm-hmm. And so I was attached initially as an associate producer for the first season, and seasons 2 to 4, I was a producer.
Oh, so yeah, because you stayed on it past me. So
yes.
I became in-house producer at New Form. You stayed with the show for another 3 seasons after that.
Yeah, so for the full run, because I helped. I was always there, part of the show. So I was part of the initial creative team.
Mm-hmm. And then after that, what did you go on to produce after that?
So I produced a few I worked on a few other things at New Form. I worked on Chris and Mitchell Make a Show, which didn't end up taking off. A few other, I don't know. There was
That was
Oscar's
a digital
Hotel.
pilot.
Yes, digital pilot. Oscar's Hotel, which we did a full season of that, which was with the Henson Company. I think that was before you had started working there too.
I remember that.
Yes.
Vaguely, yeah.
There were a few. I did like 3 or 4 shows at New Form.
And just to give the viewers context, this was the heyday of premium digital content where Go90 at the time was shelling out, over $1 million on a series, 12 episodes, 10 minutes each, 10 to 12 minutes. The cap was like maybe 15 minutes long episodes.
We had some episodes that were like 27 minutes. Like they were
Yeah,
full.
I mean, and the quality of it was TV quality. I remember when I worked at New Form, I would often say that in digital, they expected TV quality at YouTube prices, at digital prices. And now that I work in YouTube land, I feel like that's very much the case too.
Yeah.
Where people expect TV quality, but you're supposed to do it for a fraction of the cost. So it's been a battle that I think producers wage, that we wage all the time, like trying to squeeze like the highest production value we can for what seems to be smaller and smaller budgets.
Right.
Yeah.
What was the platform that New Form put out on for iSound? What am I trying to say?
It was Go90.
Go90.
Oh, Go90 was
Yes.
okay. Got it.
So-
Got it.
And Go90 was owned by Verizon. So, big company was behind it, but I believe they made it a subscription service. So
Okay.
they didn't have a subscription base to justify, the bigger budgets that we were spending on these series.
And
Wow.
it was before like Peacock and Hulu, and Hulu was there, but it wasn't what it is. They weren't making original content at the time, like before all the big streamers.
Wow, that's wild. Y'all were right in on the
Mhm.
forefront.
And this was before Quibi too. So Quibi then tried to do the same thing. We worked on Quibi series. There was one that was directed by Catherine Hardwick. It starred Don Cheadle. We thought, okay, this is amazing. We have stars attached and a huge budget. And we were very proud of it. And it never really saw the light of day. I mean, it went on the platform, but then people didn't sign up for it. So, that did feel like the heyday of digital.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it might be kind of making a swing too. I don't know if y'all have seen these dramas that are on the phone. So I've actually written a couple of them. So there's these new dramas that are specifically made for phone. One of the big companies is Real Short. There's another one, Drama Box. And people are addicted to these shows. And so
Please tell more.
they're very dramatic. I love daytime soap operas, but this is like to the next level.
On steroids.
Cool.
Yes, it's like
I'm watching it on your
My
phone.
Billionaire. And that's the thing, is they make it so addictive. The episodes are 1 to 2 minutes long.
What?
Yes. And so you're just constantly like, you get addicted because they end every episode with a cliffhanger. And then you have to like swipe to do it. And then you can watch like 10 of them. And then after that, you have to pay for it. And so people get very sucked into them.
This is wild. Are you able to give me an example of like, how can we write a cliffhanger in how do you have a beginning, middle, and end in 1 to 2 minutes?
And so I wrote I was given the assignment to write a werewolf drama romance. And so the way that I looked at it is because it's essentially, there's 60 episodes. That's essentially a screenplay. So I structured the whole thing as a screenplay and then went through and did each episode. So you come in hot, like on some drama, and then build it up just a little bit in those 1 to 2 pages, and then ended each episode on something that you just want people to swipe on next.
Okay.
So,
That's so interesting.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I
and
love the approach of coming at it as a full screenplay.
mhm.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. And I think it's an extension of your work at New Form because, those were 10-minute episodes. Now it's 1 minute to 2 minutes. I feel like it's truncated. Like the TikTok era now has truncated content even more than it was truncated back when digital came about, right? So it's like we've gone from 30-minute episodes of television to 15 minutes in digital to 1 to 2 in TikTok land. It's like how you can't get any shorter than that.
Right.
You know, like we've already reached like the smallest iteration of storytelling. Because I remember, just something that relates to this, I remember at New Form, we had the hardest time compiling a series into a feature-length version of it.
Right.
So we would take all the episodes and edit them together and try to sell it as a feature. And when we would watch it back, we'd be like, there's too many cliffhangers. Yeah. Like it's all over the place. It's too much of a roller coaster ride. Like you can't follow it. So I imagine if you try to do that here, like if you were to edit all of these together into a 60-minute episode of television, let's say, it would probably feel very jarring as well, right?
I think it would feel jarring, but if you are someone that is used to watching daytime soap operas like I do, like I watch all 4 of them that are on air right now. I watch them every single day.
I love that.
There's a new one starting later this month, and I'm so excited too.
I think I heard about this actually.
Yeah, The Gates. So
Yep.
every for a daytime show, every commercial is a big cliffhanger, and because it's so broken up into scenes, as far as like there's usually like 5 different storylines going on for an hour long, and so they leave like every scene is kind of a cliffhanger.
I see. So then if you're used to that kind of up and down roller coaster of emotions, then for you that's natural. It's like, oh, that's just another twist. Within 5 minutes I've had 3 twists, let's go.
Exactly.
Did that help you? I'm curious. Did you start in writing like old school kind of like full screenplays and then have to adjust to this sort of format? Or did you get in on this so early that there wasn't much of a shift for you or an adjustment?
I've written several screenplays or even television pilots. So that's one format, and I have this different format when I go into those short form dramas because it's a different type of writing. They don't want you to really spend a lot of time in the details, which is something that I have to keep in mind while I'm writing this. Everything just has to be fast. Like by episode 5, the main characters should be in love with each other.
See, I'm so impressed at you being able to adjust to that format. And like, did you find that challenging, or was it just like kind of easy and just kind of came to you?
It was challenging, but like I want to make sure that my brain is making sure that I'm able to separate the two. So, like for example, I'm in a advanced TV lab right now, so I make sure that my TV brain is still working in that way.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, because like having had experience writing short form content as well, you do have to switch your brain to a different wavelength. It's like the difference between prose and screenwriting. Like one of the things that I think might be interesting to you, Anna, is like when you're writing in that format, you can't have long monologues for your actors. Also because the pace of production is so quick that like they don't have time to memorize things. You're moving so quickly.
Oh, it's like daytime dramas.
So
they don't either.
Very
They're just
much
given,
back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. None of the like Succession type of
then
now we're gonna discuss like boardroom drama for 20 minutes.
But well, I don't know if you watch Young and the Restless, they do.
I love Young and the Restless. That was nice.
But Succession is a soap opera, like.
Oh, 100%.
It 100% is. When I was watching it, I was like, I wasn't really surprised by anything because I am so into daytime soap operas. I was like, this is just a soap. And then when it ended, someone wrote a whole article at one of the big, I forgot which publication, but they were like, Succession owes everything to daytime drama. And I was like, I was on the nose the whole time.
Wow,
I have to find
I
that.
was right.
I would love to read that. That's
totally.
great.
I hadn't thought about it that way. You're totally right. I just meant in the sense of like it's very elevated dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times when you're working in the short form content, like you can't have such elevated dialogue because you have to move so quickly.
That is true. Because I did give a note. I got a note when I was writing one time. And I was putting, because a lot of the people that I work with, well, all of the people, the production itself executives are in China. And so I would have to like sometimes wake up at 1:00 in the morning to have meetings.
Wow.
But I got this note one time and she said, our audience is illiterate. We need to make this, basically dumb it down. And I said, illiterate? Is someone going to be reading this? Like, I had to clarify that we were on the same page. And so like we got on.
I just love your face.
Yeah.
Illiterate?
Like,
what are we talking about?
Right. So we had to get on the phone, and because I was like, there's a loss in translation here somewhere.
Yeah.
And we got on the phone and I was like, can you explain this to me? And she was basically like, we just need to break this down because everything's so fast. But I was like, that is not a way to put that.
It's like not quite what you meant.
Yeah.
But okay.
That sounds so challenging. I'm fascinated. I just feel like I'd have such a hard time. I don't know if I could do it. I don't think I could do it.
I'm
It
very
moves very
curious.
fast, too.
I'm also very curious, like for you. So are they? These are Chinese actors that are, or so it's American. Is it American actors?
Yeah, they film
But-
a lot of them here.
Got it. So
Yeah.
it's produced here, but it's a Chinese app,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Chinese executives that are
Mhm.
giving notes on these.
Uh-huh.
And then are they then translating it? Like, is it just like they have subtitles in all these different languages, or is it just they're banking on people knowing English?
They're banking on people knowing
Oh,
English. So for this
interesting.
specific one, I'll say for this specific one, which they're building the app now, so they haven't come out, and so I can't talk a lot about them. But for this specific one, it's in English. Drama Box, I believe, I haven't worked with them, but I believe they do translations for them for the different languages. And then Real Short, they now have offices based here. And so mostly everybody that works at the company is US based. So
That's so interesting.
Can you tell us a little about how you got into that and how you got hooked up with those companies?
Yeah.
And
So I want to work in soap operas. It's hard to get in. I've been
Wow.
trying. I want to work in daytime as a writer. And so I saw this headline that was like short form content in digestible form. This is like the next step for soap operas. It was something like that. And I think it was in Variety. And I was like, what is this? And so I read about it, and it was for Real Short. Like I said, they're like the top app for this. And so I just kind of looked around and tried to find on LinkedIn people that worked at the company, and they hadn't yet had an office in LA. And so I got connected with somebody that she worked when they were first starting off. And I think she was in Atlanta maybe. And so she gave me all the tea on what was going on with the company. And she was like, actually, they just fired all us because they want people based in Sunnyvale, which is where they are in like Silicon Valley, which is where the headquarters is. And so it was local based. And I was like, I'm not going to Sunnyvale. But she's like, there's this other there's this recruiter that I've worked with before that she's doing it for another app. You should contact her. So I contacted her, and then she put me in touch with, I had to like put in some writing samples, and I had a little interview, and then that's how I got connected with it.
Wow.
that's so cool.
One of the lessons I love about that story is that you very strategically went after what you wanted, and you were
Mhm.
like, okay, I'm not quite getting into that soap opera writer's room.
Mhm.
So then what's the closest thing
Exactly.
that will then give me that experience
Yeah.
so I can then leverage that up,
Mhm.
right?
I
Yeah.
love that too. That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question we love to ask people is, can you tell us a little bit more about who you were when you were a child,
Okay.
in terms of like, you know, imagination wise, like you could write anything, you could be anything,
Mm-hmm.
and like how that has informed who you are as a creative now.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you one example from my own personal life. Like, I used to want to be an astronomer when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered I was horrible at math. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be a physicist like Albert Einstein or whatever. But actually, Carl Sagan was one of my heroes. But that segued me into writing sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So just something like that might connect like who you were then versus who you are now, I think is something that I find really interesting in talking to creatives.
Yeah. And so this is something that I've thought about and laughed about before is I always said that I wanted to be a doctor, but I think it was more just like my parents saying that you should be a doctor because I'm very analytical. Like I like to I like to look at things, figure out how they work, take things apart, put it back together. Like I love working with my hands on things, but I also was very creative. And so as a kid, I loved Power Rangers, like obsessed with it. And looking back, Power Rangers had a new episode on every day. So it was like a soap opera in that way too. Where,
I didn't know that about that show.
There's like hundreds of episodes for the first season.
Oh my God, that's awesome. All right,
I
Power Rangers.
would write scripts, but I didn't think of them as scripts. They were just kind of like, I'm just writing fun things that have to do with this show, but it was a script. And then I would have every day I would write it. And then the next day at school, I would go to school and hand these scripts out to my friends and then make them perform it during recess.
I love that.
So like if I had tapped into that earlier on, we could have saved. I went into college being a physics major too, because I love math. And then I was like, there's only like 5 people that were freshmen in the program, and the guys were not. It was mostly men and like one other girl, and I was like, I don't want to do it. And so I switched over to biology. But yeah, I could have saved time. But I still love science. Like I do math problems for fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
That is great. There's something to be said. Okay, so I recently started learning Japanese. And it breaks my brain, but in the best of ways. Mm-hmm. And there is something to be said about like a puzzle that challenges your brain that has nothing to do with writing.
Right.
Because again, that's a different part of your brain. Mm-hmm. So I love recommending to creatives like, oh, you feel stuck? Like go practice some Spanish or whatever, then come back to breaking story because it's just about keeping your brain active.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
that's
I'm
great.
Doing algebra problems in between and sometimes physics problems too.
I love that. Well, another thing we like to ask, and you kind of just said it, but I'd love to hear another story then, is like we love to ask people if you could tell us a story that kind of encompasses you and tells us who you are. So that was a great one from your childhood. But I'd love to hear another one.
Yeah.
If you have like something.
Maybe as an adult. Yeah.
My story was getting a bus unstuck, if that helps at all, in my neighborhood.
What?
A dash bus that went the wrong way up into the hills and ended up blocking a huge intersection that was like the only way up and down into the Hollywood Hills under the Hollywood sign, up in Beechwood Canyon area up there. And she was so stuck and all the traffic was just backing up in either way. And my partner and I went out for a walk and I was like, I cannot leave this alone. I cannot walk away from this. And I had to just like figure it out. And I got cars to move and I got her unstuck. I got her all the way through and sent her on her way. And like and the traffic started flowing again. And then I just went on my way with my walk. But that was my story of explaining who I could not walk away. I'm good in a crisis and I have to solve a problem.
Okay. Yeah. I got it now.
Okay, great.
Okay. So this was at one of my many internships. I won't say who it was for, but we worked out of this producer's house in Malibu. And so we were never allowed to go upstairs. So he was upstairs in his office and home. And then it was like 5 of us as interns in the basement area. But it was like 3 bedrooms and but they were all converted into offices and stuff. And one time, all the calls, when he would get a call, it would come to us and then we'd have to patch him in upstairs. He was doing a lot of nothing. Like he used to be a very big producer. Wow. And then I felt like it kind of moved to I'm just doing things for show now.
And let me just quickly sidebar and say, this is very common in Hollywood. Yeah. I once worked out of a producer's tent that he had set up next to his pool. So he had his mansion and the pool, and there was this just big tent and these desks inside, and we worked out of there.
Yeah.
Amazing.
This is just very common.
There was one person, this guy that was in charge of the tomatoes, even though the guy had a gardener, he was in charge of tomatoes, had nothing to do. I kind of was in charge of everyone else.
Wow.
Oh my
Wait,
goodness.
tell me more about this
Okay.
tomato guy. So what was his job specifically? Like
Wait, but-
To go outside and prune the tomatoes.
fascinating.
There was one person that was in charge of driving him places. There was somebody else who her father was like another big producer, so she just kind of just like sat there. Really, she didn't really do anything.
And then there was you doing like 5
like
different
just
jobs.
I'm just like, no, I was more like telling people, like he would tell me what to do to tell other people what to do.
Got
Okay.
it. So he would say to you, I need the tomatoes pruned.
Yeah.
And then you would go to the tomato guy and say, hey, he needs the tomatoes.
So,
Yeah.
This is so
Wow.
good. I can't
Yeah.
wait to hear where
Sorry,
this
I know we keep interrupting.
No,
Okay.
no, keep asking questions.
This
It was
is so good.
Yeah, and there was this one project where like things he kept saying it's going. This thing they'd been working on it for 10 years. It never was going anywhere, and it never did go anywhere
Wow.
because this was 10 years ago now at this point. And then there was a film that he was working on years ago, and there was something messed up with the taxes on this thing. And then I was put in charge of going through all the financial stuff, talking to an A-list, I'll tell you guys off mic, but it wasn't like an A-list actress legend in Hollywood.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
And
Wow.
so I like had to go through because of like the financing with this stuff was like messed up. I did not know what I was doing. Like I should not have been doing this. An accountant should have been doing this.
Wow.
It was messed up. But one of these days, he's on the phone with, there was also one person that was in charge of booking him like badminton room at the country club that he went to.
That's
that you
all
had
they
to be.
did?
That's all they did because it was like this serious thing where like you had to be in at a certain time or it wouldn't get booked.
What?
I can't
Also,
even
what is the
imagine.
Batman room at the country club?
Badminton?
Badminton.
Do you know
Batman.
Badminton.
I heard Batman. I was like,
Oh, Batman.
fascinating.
Oh, it's just
Badminton.
going a whole other
Yeah.
I
place.
was like, what is Batman? Or is it just in a cave?
Yeah. So
Oh my
he
gosh.
gets a call in.
Wow.
And then the phone, like I clicked it over and sent it upstairs. And then the guy called back and was like, hey, something's happening. I don't know. I got disconnected. So then I patch it back up and then I just hear this loud boom. It's upstairs, but we're not allowed to go upstairs. And so I'm calling again. Nothing. Oh no. Nothing. So I'm like, do I go upstairs? Because he would like yell at us. Like he was a mean person. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go upstairs. I go. He's lying on the ground, blood all over him because he hit his head. He like passed out, hit his head, and then blood was everywhere. And he was having a stroke. And so like my medical brain kicked in
Right.
because I'd taken like
Biologist.
Medical
classes
school
and
to the
stuff.
rescue.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Not where I thought the story was going.
So I'm like, I yelled for everybody to come upstairs. I had one person call 911. I'm checking his pulse and everything and then holding his head because like he's thrashing around. And then his wife was also there. And then she comes from wherever she was and was like, she was trying to put Tylenol down his throat. And I'm like, no, you can't, like, don't do that. Don't do that.
Wow.
Ambulance ends up getting there and then takes him off. And they were like, you basically saved his life by keeping his head straight because he was choking on his tongue.
Wow.
So he goes to the hospital, is there for 2 days. The next day, we just like go. There's nothing for us to do because like there's nothing to do. But then he calls and he was like, make sure he had his wife call and told us to make sure that he booked time so then people wouldn't know that something was wrong with him at the club. And said that nothing was wrong with him. He just passed out. It was a stroke. Like it was legit a stroke. Didn't want people to know. And this guy was like in his late 60s at the time. So it's not like, it was like young. He was like, he didn't want people to know what was happening. Didn't want us like swords to secrecy. And it was just weird because then I got preferential treatment because of this. And then some other things that happened that I were very inappropriate. And if I had known about these things and I had known that it was inappropriate at the time, then I would have reported him too.
Wow.
But yeah.
The moral of the story for me, other than that this guy is messed up, is you are so good under pressure.
Yeah, you're great in a
you
crisis
called
too.
911. You saved his life by making sure he didn't choke on his tongue. Like, I think that that's something admirable. And, you know, time and time again, I think the best of us producers are those of us that are able to stay level-headed, not lose our temper, not, you know, go spiraling when shit hits the fan, pardon my French, because like a lot of times it does on a set, and you have to act quickly and efficiently and tell other people what to do in a moment of crisis. So it directly ties to what you do now.
Yeah. Good correlation.
Yeah.
Did you get a thank you at all?
I got a thank you, and I didn't really have to work the rest of the time I was there.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, he wanted you to keep his secret of like, oh, I had a stroke. Don't tell anyone. So I'm going to be super nice.
Yep. And so I was doing TaskRabbit at the time, so I would just show up there and do like digital stuff on TaskRabbit because I wasn't getting paid to do the internship, and so I just sit in one of the offices and do other work.
That's a great story.
That is quite a story.
Yeah, I love.
I'm so glad you told that story. I'm over here just like, whoa!
And they had so many tangents. Too.
It's so many tangents. Oh my gosh!
So
that was
with
wild.
that, I feel like we should get to the meat of our podcast. The question we ask everyone is: has there been a big plot twist that has defined your creative life, like where you went from one place that your life was going to go to a totally different place? I know you talked a little bit about wanting to be going on the path of medical school, dentistry, but other than that, or maybe in addition to, is there another one?
Yeah. So writing has always been like number one. And so I went to this writing retreat at the end of 2019. And while I was there, because I also work in podcasting, I mentioned at the top, while I was there, there's this woman that still works for Penguin Random House Audio. And she asked me, she's like, you work in the entertainment industry, like not just writing, but you also like do podcasting. Would you be interested in directing audiobooks? And I said, I didn't even know audiobooks had directors.
Right. I didn't know that until just now.
Right.
Thank you.
And she was like, you should come to the studio and just shadow and see what you think of this. And so this was in November. In December, I went up to the office and to the studio and shadowed. And they were like, we think, and I was like taking notes and asking questions. And they're like, we think you'd be a great fit. And so I was like, great, I'm actually going, because in December, I usually go back home to Arkansas I leave like the second week and then don't come back until the second week of January. And which I'm very lucky that I'm able to do that. And they said, okay, we'll look into, you usually get like a month before the first assignment comes up anyway. So that's actually perfect timing. So I came back. So now we're in 2020. They're like, we don't have anything yet. And then February, as the pandemic was becoming a thing, they were like, okay, we've got something. I got booked on something, and then everything shut down.
Oh, that's the worst. It's happened to a lot of people.
Yeah. But they were like, we're going to try to do this virtually. And I said, okay. So the very first book that I had to direct, I had to do it virtual.
Wow.
And then also my friend, Megan Rinks, who also is co-host for the podcast that I host on, she had a book coming out then too. And we were in each other's bubble, and they were going to cancel her book recording because it was at a different place, and they hadn't figured out yet how to do things digitally. And she was like, well, I asked originally for Melisa to do this, but they were like, she doesn't have enough experience, and we usually do people in-house. And she's like, why can't we just do it, and we'll do it in person, because we had our podcast equipment.
Oh, do you want to mention the name of the podcast?
Yes. So Megan and I actually do 4 podcasts a week. It's under our umbrella company called Sister Sign Productions, because she's a Leo and I'm an Aquarius. And
Sister sign.
And so the we have, like I said, 4 shows. Don't Blame Me was our first show that we did, and then it expanded out to But Am I Wrong? Don't Blame Me is a call and advice show. But Am I Wrong is when people really don't take our advice and they want to know if we're wrong in the situation. And then our auxiliary shows, one is called See You Next Tuesday, where we take the votes from people can vote on like if the person was wrong in the episode. And so then we read the results and like can analyze the results from But Am I Wrong? And then Fisting Friday is just our pop culture catch-up episode.
Oh my gosh.
These are so fun.
I'm so impressed.
I'm very impressed, and they just sound so
incredible.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really fun. And so her book was coming out, and so we asked if I could direct it. And so they said, sure, okay, because nobody else wanted to be around anyone, of course. And we did that in like 3 days, and they were like, oh, actually, we don't even have any notes. You don't have to do pickups. And I was like, whoa.
Amazing. 3 days without having done it before. This is your first
This
one.
was my second one, but the
because
first one was like I think it was a kid's book based on David Beckham was the very first one that I did.
Huge.
So it was it was a very short book. So it was it was like something for like a third grader to read.
Got it.
So I did that one. And then since then I've done at least 60 books, and one of them was I've worked with a lot of big names, and one of them was for Amanda Gorman, the poet laureate that
she's lovely.
Yes, and so
wow,
that
you directed one of her audiobooks?
I've directed 2 of her books.
That's incredible.
And one of them was nominated for a Grammy.
Hell yeah.
And so
did you go to the Grammys?
I didn't go because like it's more focused on the person doing it, but they did that, and they did one for Willow Smith last year that has been nominated for or finalist and for the audio awards. I think I've had about 5 or 6 of them that have been finalists for Audies, and so that was something that I never knew existed, and it kept me working throughout the pandemic and now too, and so another thing that I have in my bag.
Congratulations.
That is so cool.
That's incredible.
I love that. Can you walk us a little bit
You have so many things in your bag.
I know.
I'm so impressed. Wow.
I'm so glad we're doing this.
Me
because
too.
Melissa and I have been friends for a while,
Yeah.
but I never get to, a lot of
We
times you
haven't
don't get to
seen-
ask
yeah.
your friends these kinds of like very specific questions as they relate to their creative process and work. I have questions around what that is like as a director. Like when you are directing Amanda Gorman, doing an audiobook, what are the sort of things that you have to deal with
That's
in
a
that
great
world?
question.
Because I think a lot of people are not used to
Yeah.
that kind of process, right? Like directors know how to direct a short film, but this is a fairly unknown world, I think, for most people.
And I did take a lot of what I learned from directing and studying directing and brought it to this. And so the process for me is that I read the material, read it in its entirety, and I'm making notes. If it's a different process if it's fiction versus nonfiction is different because with fiction, it's usually not the author that is reading it. But I did recently get to direct one of my friends too for a fiction book that she wrote, and that was fun. But it's usually not the author, so it's you and the narrator, and so it's a lot of us interpreting what the author meant. Sometimes we get to talk to the author, sometimes we don't. But we have to go through and make sure, like, think about when you're reading, sometimes there's a lot of times that there's words that you know how to pronounce in your head, but you've never actually said. And so you don't actually know the pronunciation.
Happens to me all the time as someone whose English is not my first language, and I butcher things, and then Anna's like, that's not how you pronounce it.
But she wants me to.
No, you should tell me, please. Please tell me if I mispronounce something.
Yeah, so writing down a lot of words, figuring out the pronunciations of it. I'm making notes quite like I would if I was making for anything visual, like a short film or anything. It would be the same thing except for not the visual elements. So I have to make sure the emotions in the text, we've got to nail down their voices for each of the characters too. I'm stopping them, like if it has to be word perfect too. So I have got to stop. Most of the time when you're reading things, you're not reading exactly.
So you're reading along, making sure they don't skip a word.
Don't skip. Make sure that the emotion is correct. Making sure that it's clear what they're saying. and making sure that we're consistent with the characterization.
And
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's really technical and really in depth.
Yeah. Because you have your creative brain on, but then you also are following with the text.
You've got to be word perfect. No improv. No. Yeah. Wow.
I have a question about, is the author involved in the casting process? Like, are they involved?
They are.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But I'm not. As a director, I'm usually not involved in the casting. Okay. So it's brought to me after it's been cast.
Got it.
But there are times when I've been produced. So that is part of like the producer's job. There's one company, it's a smaller production company that I work with, and I'm a producer and director, so I am involved in it. But I've also like directed scripted podcasts where I do, which is kind of the same thing, but not really, because there is more improv involved with that. But I was involved with casting and things. So
interesting. And this is all outside of the DGA, right? So interesting.
I can't imagine Amanda Gorman needed much direction. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't say that. We don't have to talk about it.
No, she's really great. She's so dynamic. She's so dynamic. I was surprised at how she's still like a girl in her 20s though. Like, and so it was like, she's very fun and playful, but like, we got to get down to business. But there were creative things that I brought to it, because there was one section where where it had like Morse code in it. And I asked the production team, like, if we could add the Morse code in there so that it could be part of what people were hearing with it.
Oh, that's so creative. I love
that's
that.
Cool. That's really cool.
That's awesome. Is there anything in your personal life that has compelled you to pivot? So, for example, one thing that I talk about and I'm open about is that it was, for me, it took a long time to realize that my marriage was not working. And I finally, when I had the courage to leave and, get separated, get a divorce, that courage then gave me the courage to then pursue a different career. So it was like, I got separated, right around the time that I also went from being a producer to being a writer's assistant. I took that plunge of making that brave choice of like, going from making X amount of money to like literally 1/3 of that. So is there something on a personal level that has affected your creative process in any way?
If you're comfortable answering.
If you have
that's up to you. What you feel like sharing.
I think like the pandemic as a whole created it because I always thought of podcasting, because I produce numerous podcasts now. And at that time I was producing 3 when the pandemic happened, I think. Yeah, I was producing Not Too Deep with Grace Helbig, Directionally Challenged with Candace King and Kayla Ewell, and my podcast, Don't Blame Me. And I always thought of podcasting more as just something that I did. Like, it was just like in between the other projects I was working on, really not something that I was very serious about. And then when the pandemic hit, everybody wanted to do a podcast. And at one point I have a team of other producers and assistants and editors that work at my company. And that actually, it wasn't quite a company yet. It was just like people that were freelancing, working with me. And when we were doing 15, I was like, okay, maybe podcasting isn't just one of the, like, another thing. I need to start focusing on, like, I have these different branches and I need this company to actually be working as a company. And so I was able to give different tasks to different people where I wasn't the main producer on the podcast, or have somebody that's just working on graphic designs and stuff. So it really forced me to create my company.
Wow.
You are really good at pivoting.
Yeah.
You're a great leader
to
too.
do that. And that takes a lot, like, to say, like, I'm going to be a company now. I'm going to be responsible for payroll for X amount of people.
Well, just you're really great at looking at your life and saying what is happening and what is working for me and what is feeding me in
Mhm.
some way, literally and metaphorically, or however,
Mhm.
spiritually, whatever it is for you, and just running with it. And that's
Yeah.
really impressive. I don't know. That's a really,
Mm-hmm.
that's a skill
Mhm.
Absolutely.
to be able to recognize and pursue and follow. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and you set your eyes on something and then you go after it.
Yeah.
You have a specific plan.
Mhm.
It seems to me like you always have a plan.
I always have a plan. I always have the main plan, and then what's going to make me money to keep the main plan going.
Well done.
That's kind of the
Well
theme
done.
of our podcast too. Is like, okay, you have your dream creative job,
Mhm.
and then you might have some other creative job
Right.
that makes you money that you
Mhm.
still enjoy,
Yes.
but then you're still working towards the dream.
Exactly.
This is fascinating, though. Yours has just taken you in so many different directions, and I'm just so intrigued. I feel like I could talk to you for like 5 days.
Let's keep going.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes.
Off screen, we're gonna talk. We're gonna pick your brain
Yeah.
about how do we make a better podcast, because
Mhm.
Anna and I just started, and then we're very much like figuring it out as we go. And we
That's
just
how.
so
That's what it is, though.
appreciate
You
what-
you figure things out as you go, and you see what's working, what's not working, and just pivot from there.
keep pivoting.
Mhm.
It's great. It's great
Love
advice.
that.
Also, well, I'm going to pick your brain about these A-list celebrities. I can't wait till we turn the mics on. I mean, not really. I want to keep talking, as I said, but
Another question we love to ask people is, what are you currently intellectually curious about? So when you said I was into physics, I was maybe going to be a physics major, like my ears perked up because I'm like, oh my God, I love talking about physics
Mhm.
and the nature of reality and, you know, all sorts of things that relate to black holes and,
Mhm.
you know, the nature of space-time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not
I
going to
do-
do that on this podcast.
I mean, I
but-
love space. Me and my friend literally
space.
have. We're working on this screenplay that takes place. The woman is an astronaut and gets sucked into a black hole, and then, but it's very much like a comedy, ridiculous comedy, where then like somehow she gets sucked out, and there's just like 10 years has passed on Earth, but it's only been like a couple hours for her.
That's interesting, especially
And
as
then-
a comedy, because you don't see
Yeah.
that very often.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing is like, it was just fake. She would never actually got sucked into the black hole.
Well, now
and
I'm
it
interested.
became
How
a
is it fake?
reality show
Oh,
set up by
okay.
this fake NASA that's not actually NASA, but yeah.
So kind
Amazing.
of like the Truman Show.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
on
In
steroids.
spades. Yep.
Yeah.
That was a great pitch. That was a great pitch.
That's so
I'm in.
great.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you feel like that kind of merges your interests where it's
Yes.
like, okay, you're into the science
Mhm.
geekiness of it all, but also like comedy like plays a
Yeah.
part in your writing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's go back to soap operas. That's why I love soap operas, is because you've got like a lot of science fiction in soaps. It's romance. It's every genre that exists is in a soap opera. Like there's been double possessions and face swappings and brain swappings and twins. And so like you can
So true.
aliens, like you
Oh my
can
God.
do anything in a soap opera.
That's so true.
I vividly remember,
amazing.
like when I was a kid watching a soap opera with my grandmother. It was a Turkish soap opera,
Uh-huh.
and it had these two clones
Mm-hmm.
that looked exactly alike,
Mhm.
and they were able to like wreak havoc and
Mhm.
confuse everyone. Like one of them would sleep with this woman, and then the other one would want to sleep with the same woman, and so yes,
Yeah.
I love that element of it. Like anything like ghosts in a
Mhm.
soap,
Mhm.
basically.
There's
so
and
true.
there's
You're-
ghosts in soaps.
There are. You're making me like I'm reevaluating soaps, but I've always been impressed with the
Mhm.
actors being able to take those kind of lines,
Yeah.
just thrown at them every day,
Mhm.
and be able to just do what they do. I've always been impressed with soap actors. I think they're some of the most incredible actors out there for what
Mhm.
they can do. And it's also making me think of Jane the Virgin, because
Yeah.
it was kind of like based on telenovelas,
Right.
And
Mhm.
like I thought they did such a good job with that. That
Mhm.
cast was amazing.
Yeah.
That just made me think of
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
No,
That's
it's
where
so
my brain
good.
is
You're
going.
right. You're
Yeah.
totally right.
But intellectually, let's see. I guess I'm really into, because I have to be into politics right now. Just focusing on that, but not getting so sucked in like I was in after 2 elections ago. It was what I woke up to every day and went to sleep to at night, and I'm like, I can't let that be my life right now. But
Absolutely. And once you get into that habit, it's so hard to break. Like
Mhm.
I sometimes start my morning with New York Times, Wall
Mhm.
Street Journal, like literally back to back,
Mhm.
look at the whole, like, front page of both.
Yeah.
And then you're like, if it's bad news, you're like, man,
Yeah,
like I'm
and-
starting my
And so I stopped
day,
doing
like,
that. Yeah.
That
stressed
sentiment
out.
that you've just expressed, I feel like I hear that a lot right now.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of people, I identify with that a lot. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way.
Yeah.
Of just how to not let it be everything,
Mhm.
but still be engaged and involved how we can.
Yeah.
I think if that's
Yep.
what you're saying.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, one trick is to like trade off with your friends. It's like, okay, you look at the news for the next couple of days.
And report back.
Report back.
I mean,
If the world is
take it
burning
in.
down, and then we'll swap. I don't know.
I'm obsessed with TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. And there are one of my podcasts, Unhinged and Immoral, is 2 TikTok stars, and so I had they said they wanted to do a podcast like on their TikTok, and so I just reached out and we started doing the TikTok. That's the one I showed you guys earlier.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
awesome.
okay,
I love
okay.
that.
And so I actually get like a lot of news stuff from TikTok. So I'll take it in from there. And then if it's something I want to look further into, then I'll do it.
And what is a
Yeah.
podcast on TikTok? How's that different than like YouTube, where you just put up the whole thing at once? Like, are you breaking it up into these digestible pieces?
Oh, they're not going up on TikTok.
Oh, got it. They're TikTok.
They're just people
it.
on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is interesting. This is a new
I
format.
think it might be at some point, because I've had people that work at the bigger podcast companies kind of talking through how we would do that. So I think it could be at some point.
That's so cool. Well, one of our last questions we have, and I think it's particularly great to hear from you, is advice for people that are getting started. But I think more than that, for you specifically, advice for creatives that have their own company, right? Their own production company, you name it, like their own store, you make jewelry or whatever. Like, what are some key takeaways that you've learned?
I think starting out, I just kind of didn't say no to a lot of things. A lot of as long as it was safe, like looking into it was safe. And so I worked on so many different student films, even for not people that weren't in my when I was studying at UCLA, I would go to other schools too and work on student films, and that created a lot of connections. And then like anything that was like a skill thing that came to me, I just kind of learned it. And so I had reached out. It was when Kickstarter was kind of big. There was actually a soap actor that was doing a short film. And so I just reached out on Kickstarter and be like, hey, do you need somebody to work on your film? Because I'd love to work on it, like shadow you as a director. And he was like, actually not for this one isn't going, but I do have like this other project I'm working on that I need an assistant editor for. And I was like, I don't know how to edit. And he said, we'll teach you. And I said, cool.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And so they taught me, and that's the thing where I just like reach out to people and see who needs help for what. They taught me how to edit. And then when I was initially working on as a assistant on a podcast, the editor went out of town. And so the producer asked me, hey, you know how to edit, right? You can do this. And I was like, sure. When I was doing assistant editing stuff, I was just kind of just doing string out. So I didn't really know how to edit. And so I was like, yeah, I can do that. And then I just watched videos on YouTube and stayed up all night and then edited it. And then it was so good that the producer was like, actually, we don't want to bring the other editor back.
Oh my God. Can I just stop you right there and say, one of the things I love about you
So
is
impressive.
you have this sense that you can do anything,
Mm-hmm.
that you'll figure it out.
Yep.
You have this belief that everything is figurable.
Yeah, that's a great word.
That is a great word. Marie Forleo, who's one of my heroes, like has a book called that, and I always struggle with that word.
It's a
really
tough one
hard
to say, but it's great.
Figurable. I'm butchering it.
It's not something
But
that
you
we
can-
usually use. In
Yeah, no,
everyday
I think
language.
she made it up
Yeah.
for her book.
Yeah.
But my point is, like, you just have this like tenacity where you believe that you can figure it out,
Mhm.
and then you do.
Yeah.
A lot of creatives are daunted by that.
It's
Like
very
we tend to
inspiring.
like put ourselves in boxes. We're
Mhm.
just like, well, I only do this, or I don't have the brain for that,
Yep.
and you don't do that.
Yeah.
Which I love.
And because of that skill, that helped me propel to the producer faster. And so me not saying no to a lot of things like the audiobooks, I didn't say no to that helped me. And now I'm like, I need to get back into like, I want to direct a short film this year. And so I just think like the more things you have in your bag and the more things you don't say, like figure things out. There's so much information online that you can figure things out if you
Very
actually
true.
want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just kind of my thing. It's like, just do it.
Just do it. Not saying no. That's
Mhm.
great. That's great advice. Not saying no.
Yeah.
And just do it.
And then as far as having a company, have people that you trust. My original like policy is like no assholes. Like I don't work with assholes. I don't want to be around people that get on my nerves. So working with people you like and trust, and we just kind of like everybody just gets along. Having people that are skilled, but also that they bring a lot to the table too.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
That's great.
Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We're kind of out of time here.
I think it does.
Thank you so much for being here, Melisa. This has been such a pleasure. I feel like we could talk to you for hours.
Bring
but
me
you're
back.
very busy. I know. Bring back
Season 2. Please come
Okay.
back. Thank you.
Please follow us on all the different places where you can get your podcast at. Follow Melisa at.
Yeah, where
do you
can
wanna
we
give us
find
your
you?
social?
She is not Melisa.
Not to confuse people, this is the name of your IG handle.
Yes.
And,
I love
And the reasoning
so much.
is because most people, she is not Melissa, Melissa, because that's how most people spell Melissa, but I spell it with one S.
You're one.
And so it just makes it.
Now
She
I
is
finally
so-
understand the reasoning behind that.
She is not Melissa. That's a fantastic handle.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.